the Statman Dave podcast return. This is season 2, episode 4. After a little bit of an international break for myself, I did go over to Berlin. I had a great time, drank a lot of beer and had a lot of fun. But the Statman Dave football podcast will return. We're going to do 2 episodes next week as well, previewing the World Cup and also talking about some big talking points in the World Cup. So that is going to be a lot of fun. Today we're going to wrap through the news and then we're going to go for 3 talking points, which of course are going to be about Manchester United, Arsenal and Spurs. Without further ado though, let's get this party started. First up, it is the news. So the first big bit of breaking news today, of course, is Harry Kane signing a new deal at Tottenham Hotspur until 2024. A great move for both Daniel Levy and Spurs. Harry Kane, of course, one of the best forwards in the Premier League. The reports are that he's doubled his last deal. His last deal was around £100,000, so looking £100,000. So he'll be looking to get £200,000 per week, which is quite a lot of cash, but for a player that's really come on in his career, well deserved. Moving to other news in London, Lanzini, the West Ham playmaker, has unfortunately been ruled out the World Cup with an ACL injury. Sad news for him. Johnny Evans has signed for Leicester City and will form a banging centre-half pairing with, of course, Harry Maguire. Honestly, that would be up there with some of the best centre-half pairings in the Premier League. If they can play the right way, play a little bit deep like Wes Morgan and Robert Huth did when they won the Premier League, that could really sort of keep some clean sheets next season. In other news, the winter break has been confirmed for the Premier League in the 2019-20 season. I'm not too sure about that. I like the international, I like the Christmas fixtures and so forth, but in a way, you've got to be competitive with Europe, and the Premier League hasn't been so competitive in the Champions League, so maybe this is a good thing for the Premier League. Moving to, of course, some more news, Liverpool news. Fekir apparently is passed a medical for Liverpool, but the Lyon owner, alas, has said complete rubbish, that's not going through, but I fully expect Fekir to join Liverpool. That midfield next season is going to be very, 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 very good. Fabinho, Fekir, and potentially throwing in Naby Keita in that as well. That's going to be dangerous. It's a massive upgrade than the likes of, Wijnaldum, Jordan Henderson and James Milner. Yes, those guys got to the Champions League final with a lot of work, but the guys that they've upgraded with have got real talent. And that's kind of, for Liverpool, it's quite scary. Moving further to Italy, Roma have announced the signing of Justin Kluivert for around €18 million. Justin Kluivert, one of the best young attackers in the modern day. And I think it's going to be an interesting one to see how he grows at Roma. Of course, Di Francesco, a fantastic tactical manager, will really help his game both going forward and in a defensive sense. Moving to a little bit of other news, Real Madrid news. Guti apparently is going to be appointed as manager. That is really, really exciting. Guti manages the under-19s Real Madrid side at the moment. In his first season, won the treble in Spain and also got to the semi-final of the UEFA Youth League, losing to Chelsea, who I think went on to win the competition at UEFA Youth League level. He's got a 61% win rate. In terms of his tactics, it looks like pretty much he's playing a 4-4-1-1, a 4-3-3 or a 4-1-4-1. So pretty much similar to the Real Madrid first team, but it will be interesting to see if he's as tactical flexible as Zinedine Zidane, probably one of the greatest managers of all time. 3 Champions Leagues in a row, unbelievable. And in further news, we're going to go to some more transfer news. Arsenal news right now. Arsenal apparently are entering negotiations with Lucas Torreira. The player wants to move. It's a £22 million release clause. In Serie A this season, he's won 148 tackles, winning 68% of them, making 72 interceptions. A perfect guy for Emery in defensive midfield. Moving to Spain and Barcelona transfer news, Mo Salah apparently is the target if Antoine Griezmann does stay at Atletico Madrid. The reports coming out this week were that Griezmann had decided to stay at Atletico, which is reasonably interesting. Again, there was the moment at the end of the season for Atletico Madrid where he was upset, visibly upset. I think he may have even cried on the pitch. And you saw Gabi and Diego Simeone going to the fans, and then the fans started singing, Torres' name. So it's one of these moments where if Griezmann stays at Atletico, it could be really interesting next season to see that partnership with Costa for a whole year. You've had Costa at Atletico, you've had Griezmann at Atletico at separate times, but if having them together could be a real good partnership. You think in the Mario Mandzukic-Antoine Griezmann partnership was really, really good in terms of a second striker and a target man. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see Atletico staying really competitive with those 2 players up front. Moving on to other news in the world of football. Shaqiri's going to leave Stoke, £12 million release clause. Gary Rowett says he's only going to be sold at the right price, but 12 million is pretty low. Liverpool are reported to be interested in signing him to back up their front 3. Again, Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, and of course Roberto Firmino. In other Liverpool news, Alisson it could be set to join. There is definite interest there, but the Roma at the moment are pricing Liverpool out of that move. But Firmino's been joking with him at Brazil that they're going to be playing together at Anfield. Of course, you've got Simon Mignolet and Karius, who had a little bit of a problem in the Champions League final, 2 pretty big mistakes. The second one, less so of a mistake, more that Gareth Bale did hit a cracking shot. There was some dip, there was some dive, but you expect a keeper to save that. Again, you've probably got to look at Liverpool's structure in that system, that they should have shut that shot down. But the first one was, you can't really argue with that one. That was an awful decision. Mignolet looks like he's out. Karius and maybe Alisson competing for that number 1 jersey. And in final news, Amazon have bought the rights to broadcast 20 Premier League games for 3 seasons, 1 in the bank holiday and 1 midweek fixture programme as well. BT and Sky, of course, continuing their rights over the season. Sky dominating with 112 games in England, and of course BT with 52 games. The phone vibrates, and I've got a missed phone call, but unfortunately we are doing the Statman Day Football Podcast, so they can go and, see you later. Just going to check if we've done all the news. We need to hit on all the talking points, and then we'll move on to what we're going to talk about, which will be Manchester United, Arsenal and Spurs. So make sure to stay tuned to that. Thanks again, guys, for subscribing on Patreon. You guys are legends, and we're going to be delivering some cracking content over the World Cup just for Patreon. So this is going to be an interesting sort of time for you guys, for me, for the world of football, and all those good things. For the World Cup, we've got a lot planned. We're looking to be probably dropping around 3 videos a week, 1 scout report, 1 transfer talk, and then we'll be doing live streams for the World Cup, so we'll be doing a lot of good content there, which you guys have got to get involved with. I've just been Googling how to pronounce the guy's name that I said before, and we're just going to play it now. Torreira. Is that right? Torreira. Let's see what they're saying on YouTube. Torreira. Lucas Torreira. Torreira? Cameron, what are we saying? Torreira. Lucas Torreira. Maybe we'll just call him Lucas to make it a little bit simpler for the next section. First up, of course, we're going to talk about Manchester United. 2 big signings this week. 2 signings that have very much gone under the radar. You think Fred and Delot is how you say his name. Apparently, I was with MUTV yesterday doing some filming, and I spoke to the guy, and they were doing the interviews with him. And it's not Delot, which I thought before. It's Delot. It's a French name. So it's a silent T, I do believe. But first up, Fred, what a cracking signing. Again, check out the transfer talk video I've done. I'm going to do a scout report on him next week. For me, he really impresses me both on and off the ball. He's quite high octane. He's one of those players that are very modern day footballers, where they do a lot on the ball and they do a lot off the ball. Can't remember, Thomas Tuchel was talking about players that he looks to sign. And the ex-Chelsea lad, I've completely forgotten his name, German winger, ex-Chelsea, Schürrle. Andre Schürrle, Thomas Tuchel used to describe him as like a high-octane player, both in attack and defence, and he put a lot of work in both of those environments. And I feel like that's kind of what Fred is. You think when he's not got the ball, he's really aggressive in terms of his pressing and winning the ball back. Very, very good at dealing with when the ball gets fired into the feet of the striker, he's very good at getting his body away and nicking that. So the first touch, straight on that. He did a lot of that against Manchester City, which would be good for United. But also pressing, he's quite good at getting out and then looking to put the pressure on. As soon as they win it in that situation, he's quite forceful in what he wants to do. Either he will look to drive with the ball and take it round you, or play a simple pass and then get forward. And I like that about him. High octane in both a defensive and counter-attacking situation, but also on the ball, a very good playmaker. Very, very surprised about how good he was on the ball. I thought he'd just be a bit of a shuttler in a way, a guy that's going to go out and protect the flanks if the wingers are pushed forward. But actually, when he's on the ball, that's kind of like his best attributes in a way. Very, very quick at moving it. Simple one-touch, two-touch stuff when he's deep in midfield. Sometimes, he does look to beat the press with a dribble. But what I like the most is when he beats the press by playing passes. Again, going back to the Toni Kroos stuff, why Toni Kroos is so good is because he does that consistently. With Fred, against Manchester City, he did that a number of times where City pressed them really high, and Fred was playing sort of as a double pivot in midfield with Stepankov. And they would basically, Stepankov would drop to maybe a central position to the left of the two centre halves, and then Fred would drop into the other area, get on the ball and look to play from there. And City would jump out, they try and press him with 3 to 4 guys, and when he got it right, he just played round them. They scored their first goal with Bernard curling in from a move where he basically took one first touch on his right foot and shipped out with his left. Another big thing with Fred, 2-footed, fantastic footballer. Moving on to Delot, again, so excited with him. So good, technically fantastic in terms of his mind and how he can think, and how he's already like a player that seems he's in the middle of his career in terms of his decision making as a defender. And Mourinho likes defenders, but again, United, when United want to be at that real good level, their defensively needs to be, that's the sort of the building blocks of this side. And having a player that's 19 years old now that looks like he's really switched on in a number of areas, there's a few things he needs to work on, but the raw attributes there. And like when he's on the ball as well, I didn't even really go into that because when I watched him, I watched the Liverpool game, played left fullback. I've not watched him at right fullback. I'm going to watch him next week at right fullback. But the clips I've seen at right fullback, he looks really good going forward. Very skillful, very confident with the ball. And I think that's a big, big thing. Sometimes you see Valencia, you see Young in the final third, they're not confident. They don't believe that they can take you on. Again, he likes to run ahead of the winger. He likes to get forward. And that's a big, big thing for fullbacks in the modern day. And that's why I'm so happy with him. He's signed for, £17.4 million. That was his release clause. That's a bargain. Seems as well like Mourinho's getting a player from Porto. He hasn't really gone back to Porto at Chelsea in his second spell. At United, we haven't really seen him go back there. I think he was kind of waiting for the right moment for the right player, and this guy looks like the right player. Played for Portugal from under 15s to under 21s. I imagine he's going to be in the first team after the World Cup, but a very talented player, and a player that United kind of need to build. And they're these two building blocks that are very good, Fred and Delot. But moving on, who do I think United should sign next? I think that's the big question. Who do I think United should bring in to strengthen their side and to push Manchester City a bit further? Well, first up, I think, another fullback's needed. Whether it's Alexandro, whether it's somebody else. Again, these signings are quite left field in a way, where United kind of not going for the guys that you expect, like your Milinkovic-Savic is in midfield, they're going for Fred instead. Or, and I think that at left back, there could be some players there that we may not even, think have been linked with United, but Alexandro would be the perfect one there. Looking a bit further forward, that right midfield potentially needs to be filled. I love when Jess Lingard plays there, but if you're thinking at elite level, Gareth Bale, what he did in that Champions League final was unbelievable. An unbelievable performance, and his form up to that final was amazing. If you can keep Gareth Bale fit for a season, one of the top 3 players in the world, I think that's a big, big thing for Gareth Bale. Are we all right with the filming? We're 30 minutes in, cool. Still recording?
Yeah, I was just coming in to have a look.
Nah, cool, man, cool. Love Cameron. He's one of the interns currently at Studio 68, so he's just doing his job. You know what I mean? But yeah, moving a bit forward to United again. Gareth Bale will be a great addition. The Griezmann links have been there. I've kind of fallen out of favour, fall out of love with Antoine Griezmann after that stupid thing that he did with a basketball player. If you haven't done it, just Google it. He's an absolute muppet, unfortunately, so I don't really want to see him at Manchester United anymore. Maybe someone like a Ryan Sessegnon would be another under-the-radar signing that would be good potentially on that right-hand side. His biggest strength for me is running him behind, whether he does it on the left or the right, it doesn't really matter. Again, he's been playing on the left wing for Fulham, but I don't think he's a fullback. I don't think he'll move into a fullback. He's going to be an attacker, a la Gareth Bale in a way. So maybe playing him from a young age on that right-hand side could be a decent option. Still like Juan Mata, still like Jess Lingard, but I think that elite level attacker is kind of needed for Manchester United. Maybe someone like Timo Werner. Again, Timo Werner, very comfortable playing it anywhere in the front three. The guy can finish, the guy's got skills. I remember watching a game this season for Besiktas, or against Besiktas in the Champions League, where it was absolutely awesome. I know what he does as a striker. He presses, he runs the channels very well. When he's in the channels, he's very good. But actually, when he plays wide, very, very talented. So maybe Timo Werner could be the outside shout for Manchester United to play on that right wing. Again, a true finisher. But let's move on to the next talking point. That's enough Man United chat. Let's talk about Emery at Arsenal. So Emery, for me, is a cracking signing for Arsenal in terms of management. People massively underestimate Emery. Emery won 3 Europa Leagues in a row at Sevilla with the budget and with the players that he had and the continual losing key players, and they're having to rebuild every single summer. Emery deserves a lot of credit. Yeah, at PSG didn't quite work out. I think the personalities at PSG, there's not a lot of managers that are going to get that right, unfortunately. Thomas Tuchel's going to be another one. It's going to come in, it's going to be all right for a bit, and then the players are just going to turn on him because that's the squad they've built there. They've built mercenaries, and if you build a team like that, you don't use your youth academy like you should do. You see the talent of Kimpembe, you see the talent of Rabiot. They were the best performers in the Champions League over the last 2 seasons for me in those knockout stages. But they're not bringing those players through. PSG are so successful at youth level, like Chelsea. They're not using the talent they're bringing through, and that is a problem because they've got the likes of Thiago Silva that just can't do it in the bigger games. They've got the likes of other players in there, the Di Marias of the world, that you don't know which Di Maria is going to turn up. The world beater or a guy that doesn't give an absolute shit about PSG, and I think that's the big problem. What Emery needs to do with Arsenal is he needs to go back to his foundations at Sevilla. What I talk about there, so for me, an Emery side has 2 very strong defensive midfielders, and they have fullbacks that attack. And sometimes they play fullbacks out wide. You're thinking Alex Vidal, the reason why he got his move to Barcelona was because he was so good going forward from the right wing. It wasn't right back, he played more right wing. It was Coke used to play behind him and Vidal would play right wing, but they combined so well. He did it at Valencia as well. He used to play 2 fullbacks. Whenever he played Barca, he played 2 fullbacks on the left-hand side to try and deal with Lionel Messi. And it's something that I feel that he should do at Arsenal. In terms of the rumours that have been going around recently, some more news, Potentially that Lacazette will be shown the door after the arrival, of course, of Aubameyang in January. He's obviously missed out on the French squad, so maybe Emery can get him going and bring some more money in to strengthen in other areas. Again, what I'd kind of like to see for Arsenal is maybe a 4-4-1-1. Checking goal in terms of the defence. Lichtsteiner, of course, signed. They need to get him in the side. Lichtsteiner is the biggest shithouse in world football. What Arsenal lack is a shithouse. And you really think about shithouses at the top level. Sergio Ramos is the biggest shithouse in the world. He's the best centre-back in the world because he's a shithouse. That judo throw or whatever on Mo Salah, whether it was intentional to physically hurt him or it was just something centre-halves do. Centre-halves do that. If you watch that happens a lot. But yeah, he injured him and he's put him out of the game, and Liverpool lost that Champions League final because Mo Salah went off after 25 minutes. Simple as that. And you've got to put it down to Sergio Ramos' gamesmanship. And I think that he deserves a lot of credit there. But Arsenal need that. They need some shithouses in their team. Lichtsteiner's a perfect one there. Koscielny, obviously, when he's fit, is a brilliant centre-half. It's him being fit. I think what Emery does with older centre-halves, he's had a really good track record with older centre-backs and getting the best out of them, so that would be perfect. And recently, this week, they've been linked with Benjamin Pavard, the Stuttgart centre-half. Don't know too much about him. From what I've seen, they were very, very good on the ball. There was a clip going around Twitter yesterday that was him playing a fantastic raking pass, like a daisy-cutting pass from centre-half, playing one of the wingers through, a brilliant ball. And again, that would give Arsenal a great base, considering that I feel they've got to play two strong defensive midfielders. Having a centre-half that can play out the back is important. Monreal probably will start at left-back as well. Thinking the Spanish connection, again, Monreal's been probably Arsenal's best player this season, or better player this season. So I'd throw him in there. Into midfield, Hector Bellerin, I'd like to see him at right-back. Like the Simmer, Alex Vidal thing. Bellerin, of course, missing the World Cup. And in a way, nowhere near the top fullbacks in world football. Like, he's so far down for me. I think he's a player that has such promise, but it's just so tactically indisciplined and so positionally poor. And if he wants to get to those high levels, he's got to improve in terms of his decision making. And I think he could do that at right midfield. Having someone like Lichtsteiner behind him, have that experience behind him, have that talking behind him. You should be here, you should be here. This is where you should be protecting me, and then come back to being a fullback later in his career could be a really good move. Yeah, and potentially he'll play for Barcelona eventually in his career, but right now he needs to just play some football and play some good football. Into midfield, and Nzonzi. I love Nzonzi. I think he's fantastic, a fantastic central midfielder. Done it in the Premier League with Blackburn before. Could get him at a cut price, 31, I think, ish. At the moment, you want that experience in there. You think about Petit, you think about Gilberto Silva, you think about the experience Arsenal had. So 29 years old, so he's still got potentially 30, 31, 32, 33 as a central midfielder. What Nzonzi would give them that physicality, but also that ability to play. Very decent ball player. So I'd throw Nzonzi in there, and then we're going to throw Lucas in there. Have I closed that tab? I didn't mean to close the tab, so we could do some bants right now, but I've closed the flaming tab. So Lucas Torreira into central midfield. Again, that would be fantastic. From what I've seen of him, plays at the base of slightly a diamond. It's kind of like Sampdoria. Again, like, why the fuck have I watched Sampdoria this season? But I fucking have. Back four, three midfield, more like a 3 than a 1-off-2. So it's not really a diamond, but like a 4-3-man midfield, sort of attacking playmaker behind two strikers. But Torreira plays at the base. I really like him. I like him. He's quite he reminds me a bit of Gary Medel in his stature and how he plays, but I think he's a bit better in terms of physically, winning the ball back, turning out of positions where he's getting pressed. What I liked as well is gamesmanship. Again, gamesmanship, big thing with this Arsenal team. Gamesmanship needed. Very good at making those little cheeky fouls. The game I watched, I think someone was on the back four, he completely took them out, got booked, but I like that about players. In terms of left midfield, Henrik Mkhitaryan, probably got to start there. Mesut Ozil behind Aubameyang. Again, this is the big thing. You think about the best teams that Emery's built, the likes of even Rakitic playing as a number 10. Mesut Ozil, perfect in that situation. And as well, what Emery does with this sort of, this system, I'm thinking Iva Benega as well, either when they play big teams, either Benega or Rakitic plays their 10. When they're playing weaker teams a little bit deeper, maybe we'll see that Mesut Ozil, higher up the pitch against the stronger teams, deeper against the weaker teams, so he can play from deep. We all know Mesut's a fantastic footballer, but we need more input in certain games. So maybe moving him next to like a Lucas Torreira or a Nzonzi when they're playing your likes of, I can't say Stokes anymore because they got relegated, and Swansea's, but your Newcastles and teams that are going to give you the ball. Ozil a little bit deeper. Aubameyang through the middle. He's been brilliant since coming on. Absolutely fantastic. Well, I think he's nearly scored more goals than Morata at Chelsea, and he's been there for a little bit of time. But yeah, Arsenal, I'm quite happy that Emery's there. I'm excited to see what happens to them. I just hope they're good so Arsenal Fan TV dies pretty much. And anyway, let's move on to the next big bit of business. Harry Kane, Hurricane Harry Kane. For me, the best centre-forward in world football, up there with the best centre-forwards in world football. I think what he gives Spurs is fantastic in the 4-2-3-1, both combining as a sort of a false nine as well as a target man. He reminds me so much of Lewandowski. And arguably he's got some parts of his game that Lewandowski doesn't have, shooting from range. You think of those goals that he scored against Arsenal a few seasons ago where he literally cut in from the left wing and curled it from near the edge of the box. A fantastic talent, can score goals with his feet, his head. Something crazy, like this season he's got like 10 with his left foot, I think 13 with his right foot, 4 with his head. He's just a wonderful, wonderful player. But 105 goals in the last 4 seasons. Big move for Spurs. He's going to get £200,000 per week, but they're getting a new stadium, so it really makes a lot of sense for this deal to go through. I think you've got to play, if you've got a guy like Harry Kane, just give him what he wants in a way. Like, he seems like he likes being at Spurs. Of course, he's got a lot of pals there. You see his relationship with Son, with Dele Alli, with Christian Eriksen. If Spurs can keep those guys together and improve again, I think the big thing with Spurs, they need to upgrade their wing-backs. You're thinking, Ben Davies is good, but not great. Of course, Danny Rose is going through the depression stuff at the moment, which is terrible news, but it's great that he's coming out and talking about that, something that we don't talk about enough. The struggles with your own mental health, and it's nice to see someone like Danny Rose coming and speaking about that, because it's something that we need to improve in our society and so forth. But yeah, hopefully that can be Danny Rose can deal with his own personal problems. But going back to at left back, if Danny Rose can get fit again and no one picks him up, that'll be fantastic. At left sort of wing back, but at right back, Kieran Trippier's good. Sergio Aurier is absolute garbage. His decision making is just shit. I don't think you're ever going to get to win the Premier League with a decision making like that. It's similar to Bellerin, just not good enough in terms of the brain, the footballing brain. And again, going back to Delors, and why I'm so impressed is because he has actually have a bloody defensive brain, which is so rare for fullbacks that are like young or don't really think when they're playing. But that's the big thing. If they want to get the best out of Harry Kane, fullback's an absolute must. Maybe looking at upgrading that midfield as well. Dembele is a wonderful player. I like him, but in terms of where he is and what people think he is, I think he's slightly overrated now. Looking to get maybe someone that can play in that centre of the park. Someone like Nuri Sahin at Borussia Dortmund would be the guy that if Tottenham could buy anyone, back in the day when Nuri Sahin won the Player of the Season, Dortmund won the league, he was so good in central midfield. He used to control things, similar to like Paul Scholes or that type of thing. And getting someone of that ilk. I'm not saying sign Nuri Sahin now because he's at the end of his peak in a way, but getting a guy that's like that you play next to a ball winner and you have a guy that can completely control the tempo, push Christian Eriksen forward and so forth. So maybe a central midfielder is maybe somewhere where Spurs can look. I'd like to see Harry Winks play a little bit more football, injured this season, but it's all about supplying Hurricane Harry Kane. What a player and what a move from Daniel Levy. Even if, the big thing as well, if Spurs, want to make some money out of him, whether you're looking at the World Cup as a situation where, that Harry Kane's going to be on the market in a way. Now he's signed till 2024. That's like 300 million maybe. That's the thing you've got to look at. This is the big thing, that Neymar had a release clause. Harry Kane doesn't have a release clause, so Spurs don't need to sell him. So if you want Harry Kane, you have to spend a lot. Considering what may happen at Real Madrid, again, Guti coming in as manager. Don't know Guti's relationship with Benzema, probably quite good. But whether he wants to get a new centre forward, again, you're looking at Harry Kane would be the perfect guy. Thinking about what he could do for that Real Madrid team. If I could upgrade that Real Madrid team, Harry Kane comes in there. Potentially you're looking at right fullback because Carvalho seems to have really bad luck with injuries at the moment, and you need to have a little bit more. You need that reliability in there. Hakimi's coming through this season for Real Madrid. And he's looked really good. The games he's played, 2 goals in 9 appearances, gets forward really well. Again, in game against Celta Vigo, he was fantastic at right fullback. But you want to win the Champions League again. You've got to maybe get a real top player in there. Some like Joshua Kimmich. They're the 2 sort of signings I'd make if I were Real. Kimmich, Harry Kane. That evolves your team. That moves your team on. Potentially sell Gareth Bale in there. Bring Asensio through. Vasquez, of course, has been absolutely fantastic this season, so he's going to be staying around. But yeah, it's interesting for the whole world of football. But anyway, guys, that's been the Statman Day Football Podcast, Season 2, Episode 4. Thanks again for subscribing to Patreon. We're going to have more cracking podcasts like this one coming very soon. I've been Statman Day. See you guys and girls later.